私を。
Picking up the events from the previous episode, Black Butler Season 5 Episode 8 begins with Wolfram frantically waking up after he receives an emergency signal. He rushes to Siegelinda's room, only to find her missing. Meanwhile, Siegelinda Sullivan bursts into tears, realizing she has made a weapon of destruction. However, the village crone says she shouldn't be ashamed about changing history. At this moment, Black Butler Season 5 Episode 8 reveals shocking facts about Siegelinda Sullivan's actual history. The village crone reveals that Siegelinda is her biological daughter. 13 years ago, she was involved in a military project concerning the production of mustard gas. Eventually, a genius scientist found the means to synthesize the gas. The village crone was romantically involved with the scientist and conceived Siegelinda. Then, one day, a tragic accident occurred at the factory, where the scientist lost his life. The village crone barely survived the accident and was left with scars. Sometime later, she gave birth to Siegelinda. According to Black Butler, Season 5, Episode 8, Siegelinda Sullivan was a genius from childhood. She could easily decipher complex formulae, including the synthesis of mustard gas. As a result, the village crone contacted the government to set up a new top-secret project called the Emerald Witch Education Project. She wanted to train the genius Siegelinda to develop the ultimate chemical biohazard. With the authorities' help, she set up an environment where the girl could fully focus on research. Furthermore, the people involved in the project fabricated false narratives to motivate Siegelinda. In addition, they isolated the girl from the outside world and other things, like ethics and common sense, that could potentially harm her genius mindset. She was bereft of the common human needs, such as entertainment and pleasure. Instead, Siegelinda was imprisoned in a fake world. The village of Wolfsschlucht was nothing but a stage where the girl was to enact her role. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 8 reveals that the village crone and others involved in the secret project gave Siegelinda the role of the Emerald Witch and the mission of protecting the villagers from the werewolves. In other words, the werewolves were nothing but normal humans wearing costumes. After hearing the truth about her life, Siegelinda Sullivan becomes disillusioned. She screams frantically, as she can't believe how she lived her entire life within the fabric of falsehood. Wolfram Geyser arrives at the scene and dashes to her. However, Siegelinda yells at him for deceiving her. Meanwhile, Ciel Phantomhive is disgusted by the village crone's actions. He can't believe how a mother can ruin their own child's feet and threaten them to develop a weapon of mass destruction. Ciel comments in Black Butler Season 5 Episode 8 that children aren't the tools of their parents. As he says this, Ciel shoots upwards and pulls Siegelinda along. Wolfram attempts to stop them from escaping, but he fails. The narrative for Black Butler Season 5 Episode 8 then shows Ciel and Siegelinda clambering into an elevator. However, Ciel realizes they must do something about the remaining werewolves, so he orders Sebastian to take care of them. Meanwhile, Wolfram Geyser encounters Hilda while searching for Siegelinda. He explains that the girl has been kidnapped, and she has found out the truth. At this moment, Black Butler Season 5 Episode 8 reveals Wolfram Geyser's actual identity. Hilda addresses him as Lieutenant Wolfram Geyser, and reminds him that he must dispose of Siegelinda. Meanwhile, the Phantomhive servants, observing the village from a distance, see a bright light flashing in the sky. They recognize it as a sign from Ciel Phantomhive to begin their operation. Elsewhere, Ciel asks Siegelinda to decide whether she still wants to go and see the outside world, or remain cloistered while pointing a gun at her forehead. However, Siegelinda doesn't know what to say, since everything she believes in has shattered into pieces. Therefore, he's not in a position to make any correct judgment. At this moment, Ciel convinces her that since she was able to develop the ultimate poison, she could also create a magical elixir to save the world. Ciel Phantomhive's words renew Siegelinda with hope as she eventually decides to venture into the outside world. Meanwhile, Sebastian Michaelis faces off against a group of men wearing werewolf costumes. Some release mustard gas to suppress the demon butler, but they do nothing to him. After eliminating them, Sebastian finds the village crone, who desperately tries to preserve the Sulin samples and necessary documents. Fear seeps into the village crone's body as Sebastian exhales the poisonous mustard gas. the very thing she desires to make. After disposing of the village crone, Sebastian recalls Ciel ordering him to erase the formulae related to Sulin. He also instructed the demon butler that he could employ any method for that. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 8 then shows Sebastian Michaelis burning down the entire place. Meanwhile, the Phantom Hive servants meet Ciel and Sieglinde in the werewolves' forest. Ciel orders them to split into 2 groups and retreat. On the other hand, a pandemonium follows as the B4 factory is engulfed in fire. People gathered at ground level are shattered. One of them informs Hilda that the mustard gas samples have been stolen. Addressing Hilda as Major Hilda Dickout, Wolfram Geyser says their sole priority should be capturing Sieglinde. Meanwhile, Anne, aka the 1st Commando Squad Captain, Anne Druins, and the 2nd Commando Squad Captain, Greta Hilbert, say they are prepared for action. Anne further reveals that they have located the direction from which the flare was seen. Furthermore, they intend to engage new experimental weapons. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 8 ends with Hilda changing into her military uniform and declaring they must kill Sieglinde if she leaves the werewolves' forest.